So this week we all watched Nomadland.
Wait, we did?
Never heard of it.
Throw something at you. I guess I watched it, and you guys should go watch it on Hulu. You have Hulu. It's also, I think it's in theaters where theaters are open.
Did it open in theaters this past weekend as well? Or was it already in theaters?
I think it was already in theaters.
Okay.
I think this was after its kind of theatrical run.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. But theaters have been so shoddy.
This thing was screened like 9 months ago.
Yeah.
All of them.
Tiff or Kane? Which one did it have at the beginning? Kane? Was it Kane?
Tiff.
Whichever one that Joker won, it also won.
Okay.
Tiff,
maybe.
Yeah. The Golden Lion.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what it won.
So this movie is a adaptation of a book and a paper, I want to say, or kind of like a journal on the kind of experiences of people called nomads here in North America.
Venice.
So this takes place in 2012/13, I want to say, kind of during the end of the Great Recession.
Mm-hmm.
So a very hard time economically for a lot of Americans, a lot of people worldwide, but just kind of about one person's little journey on self-discovery. I'm curious what you guys had to think of it. Luke, why don't you go first?
This movie is really hard to process. I feel like, I don't know if you guys struggled with this like I did.
We talked a lot about it last night.
So like all day, I'm trying to think, like, because we write our tweets, how would we describe it? Mm-hmm. I just don't know. Like, it's hard. And all I could think of was just, this is a whole new perspective on the human experience. That's really it.
My impression almost is verbatim. My impression was sometimes a movie comes along and challenges your perspective on life.
Yeah.
Because like even like myself, I feel like I could find 20 exaggeration. 5 different themes in the movie.
Yeah. And
somebody could get 5 totally different things from it, and you'd be like, well, yeah, actually, you're right. It's just a window for you to see something different that you would never even think about even exists, really.
I'm actually going to pull up our text conversation from last night. I didn't know what time you watched it, so I didn't text the group chat.
I appreciate that. It was kind of late, so. Any particular message you have there, Tyler? You care to share? Pikachu? Sad Pikachu.
Crying Pikachu. No, so like I said, like this movie kind of forces you to view life a little bit differently, I think. Which it's a hard movie to recommend. Like I keep trying to think of how to rate this movie, and I just can't figure it out. Much like Luke can't determine like what he wants to say in a tweet. There's a lot here. There's a lot to process. Emotionally, I think mentally there's a lot to process. But some of the things, I guess, that rather than going through impressions, I wanted to take away and kind of bring up. And I think this movie does a good job of it as well. But just how, the workforce and how it treats people who are older. This is kind of a good representation of that and what that looks like. How Social Security has failed so many. There's a lot of things that are addressed in this. People have lifestyles that you may not agree with, or you may not understand, and I think this movie does a good job of explaining what the lifestyle of a nomad is like, and what what challenges they face mentally, physically, emotionally. There's a lot here. Like this movie has a lot to say, I think, about mental health. Mm-hmm. Has the way you view the human condition. It's everything. Like you said, there's a bajillion themes in this movie. But the biggest thing, and Luke and I talked about this last night, that kind of blew my mind is that there's really only 2 actors in this movie. Well, I guess maybe like 3. The rest of them are actual nomads.
Yeah.
Who just play themselves. And I had mentioned that makes Frances McDormand's performance that much more impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But Luke brought up a point, and I'll let Luke say it, but it makes way more sense.
I didn't remember.
It was about Chloe Zhao.
Yeah, I kind of talked about how I just feel like she's an absolute lock for Best Director.
Mm-hmm.
She's working with people that have never acted before. She gets that performance out of them, and she gets the performances out of her actual actors.
Mm-hmm. And it never feels like they're not actors.
I would have never guessed they're just...
Me either.
No, just never been in a movie before.
People.
Yeah.
And when I figured that out, and I think about it as, watching it again, it's, I mean, to them, it probably felt like they were filming a documentary.
Yeah.
Like some of the scenes, especially when they have the meetup,
Yeah,
it kind of feels like a documentary, a dramatized documentary. And it's just kind of insane. It's an insane movie, but not in the way that you would think traditionally. But just in that life is so different.
yeah. One of my favorite things about this movie and about thinking about this movie is the different ways we as people cope with things. You mentioned there's only a couple actors. Frances McDormand plays Fern. David
Strathairn?
I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He's in a lot of war movies as a general.
He's in the Godzilla movies.
He's in the Godzilla movies.
He's
that's
also
right.
in The Expanse.
Yeah. Oh, I'm moving the table. As Dave, but then there's like Linda and Patty, and they all
Swanky.
They all deal with what I think this movie's really trying to tackle, which is how we deal with grief. They all handle it a little differently, and I really appreciate movies that show that it's okay. There's not one right way to deal with it, right? And yeah, the performances from the non-actors, the non-professional actors, I think is just it shows you a level of just the fact that people are even willing to do that.
Yeah.
And people of like who they are. These are people who have stepped away from society, and here they're willing to not only, help out with this movie, but deliver performances that do
the level
confuse you.
The level of authenticity is remarkable.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so this was a very powerful movie to watch. It moved me a lot, in a lot of different ways, and I was left confused and in the best possible way.
That's the thing, is like the feeling of not knowing how to process it or not knowing how to rate it really only speaks to the truth of the movie, in my opinion. Like I really just can't figure out how I feel about it. Like Dana's like, how was it? I'm like, it's really good. I don't know who I'd recommend it to.
One of the ways I saw it described on Twitter, and I loved this, was immensely heartwarming and heartbreaking at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons I love it. I guess I'm an Enneagram 4, so I like the sad stuff. But also, like, it's the term I learned from Sing Street is what I call these movies now. They're happy sad movies. They're sad, but you're kind of happy about it.
Yeah.
Like, you're okay with that. I love stories like that. And it's just so, like, perfectly made.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wrote down that dealing with loss and grief was one of the things that I wrote down too. Because like Fern's journey I feel like to me really focused on her remembering Bo.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about the ending. Because I mean,
And that's fair. Yeah, yeah.
But-
But I think you're right. I think that it has things to say about, you know, capitalism. I
Mhm.
think it has things to say about isolation versus community. I think, but I think that
He's reading your notes.
quit stealing my ideas.
I got that mirror installed over there last week. But I think those are secondary to this idea of how do we move on,
Mm-hmm.
and is it okay not to move on? And it asks the
This
question.
is like the most somber review of anything ever we've done on this show.
It asks that, but I think it asks that question without saying there's only one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those things, and I think that's great
Mhm.
because we are all different, and
I mean, there's like multiple characters really just in the third act that all react differently. You have Dave, Fern, and Bob. Bob is more, he tells you what he did.
Yeah.
Because he's not a major character in it. But they all do different things.
I would say, like, and you mentioned the third act. Like, I would say the last 20 minutes of this movie hit like a freaking bag of bricks, dude. Like, I was watching it, I'm like, oh, okay. Oh no. Why do I feel this way?
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy, but I kind of want to cry. Now I'm confused. Like, I would say the last 20 or 30 minutes of it just hit so hard.
yeah,
For me, there was just so many like quick moments throughout where I was like, oh man. Like in the first act when she meets the old friend in the Walmart or wherever they're at.
Yeah.
And the kid's like, my mom says you're homeless. She's like, no, I'm houseless. I have a home. I was like, oh, wow.
Perspective, man.
And then like when she's at the car dealership and then kind of later at the end with Bob, and then like I finally it kind of just hit me. I was like, no, I can't take it anymore.
yeah. The final scene is really powerful, and I love it because it doesn't have to say anything. At that point, it's all visual.
Yeah. All the words have been said.
All the words have been said. You know where the characters are at,
Mhm.
and it's just we're gonna show you one last thing, and it's gonna wreck you.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, yes, please.
Yep.
Wreck me!
Not
Give
only-
me more of that.
Not only are we going to show you it, we've already told you it.
Yeah.
But now we're going to walk down that lane with you.
Yep.
And you're going to have to watch this and watch it be processed.
Mhm.
And you're going to process it too. And like,
And you're
the movie
that's
kinda
what
like-
makes Frances McDormand so good.
well, like
that
that's
she doesn't need the words.
right.
She shows it all, and
Right.
it's
And
so
I think
good.
when that scene starts, the scene you're talking about, I had kind of said I felt like I went on a journey, but at that moment, it felt like Chloe Zhao was like, "Here, take my hand, let me show you this." And so, like, you walk through that scene, and you're just like, "Wow." And then, of course, that's when I sent crying Pikachu to Luke, and I was like, "Freaking hey." I've cried a lot in the last week. I don't know what's going on. It's gonna be okay.
You got it.
Yeah. They're good cries, though. They're not bad cries.
Happy sad.
Happy
Happy sad.
This one was more of a happy, sad cry. The other one was a good cry. The Supergirl cry. But, no, man, that movie, it is something.
Yep.
Yep. Other thoughts. I thought the score was fantastic. It was somber and beautiful and poetic all at the same time.
It's a huge bummer because it's already pre-made music. Like it's music people made, so like it can't be
Win
up
any
for awards
awards.
or anything. My gosh, those piano scores, they really get you, man. It's so good. The music was beautiful, and it's like these montages of her like going across the country, or when she's like in the water, or doing a quick new job, kind of at the end, and it moves into the piano. It's just like, oh boy, what's next? Where are we going now?
How many more punches do I have to take?
My two biggest pros, which I think they kind of go together. Were I kind of talked about Chloe Zhao already.
Yeah.
Her direction, I think, was just incredible.
Yeah.
The other thing is the cinematography in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just give it the dub right now, man. I don't even care what the other movies are anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
this movie will kill it at award shows moving forward. It really will.
It's been winning a lot already,
Yeah.
and I know Brett predicted it would win. I'm pretty sure. So.
It did. Cinematographer Joshua James Richard.
Well, Joshua James Richards is about to get some hardware, because I would agree with that. The cinematography in this is fantastic.
Oh, he worked with her on
3 Billboards? Or no, sorry, you said
No.
her.
with
Chloe
on Songs My Brother Taught Me. I think that was one of.
Is he doing the Eternals?
Yeah, that was Chloe's.
It's so bizarre to me that this is the same director who's doing a freaking MCU movie.
Dude, I can't wait now.
I know. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
and then The Rider was her other movie.
Did you see the statement that she made this past week that a lot of the action scenes were inspired by The Revenant?
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
What is this movie gonna be? Yeah,
Articles I wasn't expecting to read.
The
Yeah.
opening
Supergirl
scene
and
of The
The
Revenant
Revenant.
is like some of the best action you
My
can find.
interest in that movie went from like way down here to like all of a sudden up here now.
And mine's not that quite that high. It's pretty middling, but I am excited to see what she does with a big budget movie. She did a lot with a little there.
And maybe something where it does,
Doesn't even feel the same.
it doesn't feel the same. And sometimes those big studio movies, they're
is
just a big studio movie. And,
It's thrown in the studio machine and it chucks something out.
Yeah.
And it has maybe a little flavor,
Yep.
but
I was gonna say, I think the best thing that she can take from Nomadland to the Eternals is just the character work.
Yep.
yeah.
Just make us like these characters that you're giving us, because we don't know them. So
Any other pros? Any cons?
other than I just still don't know how to
Pro?
rate it.
This movie felt short to me.
Yeah, it moves quick.
Which is crazy because it's like there's no action, it's just conversation. You're following this character through a year in her life, really, and I was like, "Dang, it's over already!" Like,
I was sitting there and like I knew what time I started it, and I looked up and I was like, "This movie has like 15 minutes left. Like, where'd the other hour and a half go?" Like it moves quick. Like
Yeah.
the pacing is really well done. It doesn't feel like you're wasting any time, which movies like that typically have that problem.
Well, because it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have action. It doesn't have conflict outside of really the self.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes those can feel they're dragging on. I think there's maybe a little bit of it helps that she's moving around. That we're talking, about going through a year. She's going to the potato farm in Iowa or
the beet harvest in Nebraska.
Yeah.
man, it kind of goes into the cinematography again. But man, America's really pretty.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like they were showing some place, and I was like, that looks so cool.
Yeah,
And like,
Never have I wanted to move to New Mexico so much.
Yeah,
I
and
love
or
the
when
shot
she's just
on the PCH. Like that
Yeah.
shot's really cool.
and when she's just in the redwood forest, and I've been there, and it's gorgeous. And I was just like, man, I want to go there again. So beautiful.
Agreed.
I like America. It's cool.
Oh, she was in this. I guess it is right.
It's the same place.
Yeah. Frick, it is. I've been there. I went there last year. It's COVID.
Those
man.
trees are big.
They are.
I think my last thought is like in talking about themes and stuff and such. One of them that hit home to me. It reminded me of a song that's probably 15 years old now. But the first line of it is. This American dream is beginning to seem more and more like a nightmare with each passing day. And for whatever reason, this film just felt like visual poetry to that. Because I'm going to say, so I don't think it's much of a spoiler based on when things are revealed, but very early on, you learn that she and her husband were part of corporate America and loved it. They loved where they were working, what they were doing, and at no fault of their own, it just got stripped away.
That's a crazy whole other thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just in the opening text.
Yeah.
And like, even when you, it's not saying that that right there, I don't think it's saying that the system itself is bad, maybe broken, but like it still doesn't work for you. And it's this new take on, what is maybe your American dream. Because for these nomads, it's very different than someone like, say, her sister, who she visits about halfway and 2/3 of the way through the movie. Which is another great scene, I think. It's maybe one of the more tense scenes. But yeah, it's I think just this new American poetry about who we are. It just has so much good things to say about the human condition, and especially when it comes to things like work and relationships and who we are.
Yeah, I appreciate that in the relationships they don't manufacture drama. Like there's a few brief arguments, but they're really not arguments. It's just like they disagree and they move on.
Yeah.
It's not long-winded. They just move. And I think that's kind of important to see. Like a lot of things like this are overly dramatized. This doesn't feel that way, which I can appreciate.
Agreed.
You're saying you'd want us? Should we get the CW to remake this?
I was gonna say you could have
you could get all the hot young people to take over for the Nomads.
I was gonna say something way more controversial. I was gonna say something way more controversial. But if we went the CW route, the overly dramatized version of this is called the 100. No, I was gonna say if you wanted that, you could go with Noah Baumbach, have him remake it, and then you'd get that.
Yeah.
I love the 100. It's a great show.
The 100.
The 100.
The 100. Well, I don't have any problem giving this film a booyah and saying everyone who is allowed to watch an R-rated film should watch this. I don't even... Is it rated R?
Yes.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I can't remember...
You don't remember the lake scene?
Where she's floating down the river naked?
Like super naked?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That is not allowed in PG-13.
Why'd you look at the camera?
He goes... I've gotten,
like, what is this, The Office?
I've gotten desensitized to some of that stuff. I don't know, like, it's not gratuitous nudity, right?
No, it's not.
We're not talking Game of Thrones level stuff.
And it's not like sexualized nudity either.
I
could understand
more
that.
It was like, I don't remember that many F-bombs.
No.
I don't think so.
I don't remember.
Like, I don't think of this as like, oh, that's easily an R-rated movie.
Yeah.
I get the nudity, but again, it's one scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that
and it's mostly breasts.
all the peeing and pooping stuff, but that's pretty
peeing
normal.
And pooping jokes in kid movies, man.
Yeah.
Dude, sorry, I'm going back to directing.
Yes.
Any other movie, those peeing and poo scenes, you would chuckle probably.
Yeah, but you don't in this.
Not in this, you're like, oh my gosh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to her performance and Chloe Zhao's direction.
So Brett gives it a booyah.
Go watch it.
I have to cheat. I have to give it 2 ratings.
Oh.
Ooh.
Garbage.
Then
let me give me my rating first, since you're gonna cheat the system.
As a recommendation for people to watch, I'd give it a fanboy worthy. From a filmmaking standpoint, it's
Well, I'll give it 1 rating, and I'll give it solely based on recommendation. I give it a Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
Because I don't think it's for everybody.
Sure.
Like, people ask me, like, should I watch it? And I literally told multiple people no. It's like, no, you won't like it. Not because it's not a good movie, but because it's just not for everybody. Those kind of movies don't hit for people who aren't into them.
Yeah. I always like to recommend because sometimes there's just a combination of things that will work for someone that hasn't worked for them in the past, if that makes sense. And I don't.
Yeah.
It's different for each individual, but that's why I'll almost always, say at least on something like this, I would recommend it. But I totally affirm that rating for
there is certain people that if people ask me, I will tell them this is a booyah, and there are other people that I will tell them this is a Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
I could split the difference, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna lowest common denominator.
All right.
It's right in the middle. You're either gonna love this or you're not gonna enjoy it at all.
Yeah, I'm right in between you guys. I think if you like movies, you should give it a chance. I think you'll get something out of it. But then there's the people, I don't know, maybe a high schooler,
right,
college age, that's like only watching MCU movies. I'm just gonna ignore you. It's not for you. Go enjoy your blockbusters. This is for those indie people.
This is gonna be weird because I'm giving it a Matthew McConaughey, but I guarantee you when we look back at 2021, this is gonna be like a top 5 movie for me.
Oh, I put it in my 2020 list.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Put it in both.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be
It's going to be in my 2021 list because it didn't wide release until 2021.
It's going to be, like, really high on my list.
I just think
which was
that...
really odd.
I just think that there are stories like this that even if all you watch are MCU movies, like, the human story is so powerful that
there's no replacement for it.
Right. I don't know.
Being a superhero is cool. But sometimes it's good to see that other people struggle too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and if we need anything these days, it's more empathy, and I think stories like this help. They help us be more empathetic, understanding towards others.
I would agree.
And that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
I promise I'm not trying to make Tyler Switch's recommendation.
No.
I'm working through, I do think that.
Here, I'll do what Luke did. I'll give it 2 ratings. As a recommendation, this is a Matthew McConaughey. But for me, this is a booyah.
Okay.
I loved it.
Yeah, quality-wise, it's a booyah. It's incredibly made.
It's a great movie.
Done.
I'll be very interested to see what Oscar noms it gets and what it wins. Because I think it could win.
I think it's going to get
3, at least 4, maybe.
I think it's going to get messed up by the Oscar voting system, where it's really high on a lot of people's lists,
but really low.
But the weight system doesn't give it the win.
So it lands in the middle of everything.
No, it lands at the top, but the middle ones always win.
Oh, because it's widely liked.
Yeah.
I think this one's pretty.
In the critic area.
I mean, Parasite pulled it out last year, whereas I was worried it was going to be the one that like everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah,
but it's not going to win because it doesn't have the weight.
In any case, it deserves whatever awards
if it wins
gets, and although we'll see, it's going up against. So it has some good competition.
Yeah, it's got great competition.
I think next week is when Minari is streaming, or is it a couple weeks yet? No, it's March.
That movie's gonna wreck me.
Minari's coming out soon. We're gonna review that one soon. Okay. So be on the lookout for that.